So much trouble. Ladies, gentlemen, everybody else, welcome to the Cast of Death. My name is Quickshot. I'm joined by the lovely Mr. Price, aka Dagda. Cobby, very stoic, pretty serious. He said he's not too phased by the pressure they're in because they can still win games, increase their chances. I think the fact that you have that safety net, that if there are any ties for 8th, you do play those tiebreaker games, so they can still increase their chances of making it to groups.
Yeah, and I think that's the big one for Astralis, is if you can try and get some of these wins now, get a 3-0 weekend, which is obviously a bit of a big deal for a team that's only managed to pick up 1 win last week.
Yeah.
But that would be so crucial. Get to that 4 wins, especially when you got someone like Fnatic still that you have to try and play. That could set you up so well for some of those later
I'm so glad you mentioned Fnatic because specifically Astralis Fnatic and Astralis Koi are arguably 2 of the most important games for the bottom of the table seeding. Yeah. That sentence is mind-boggling to me by itself, you know. And of course, for Astralis, it's an uphill battle. For SK, on the other hand, it's simple. If you're a fan of SK, win this game, you guarantee group stage. They win 3-0 last week. The odds are they should be favored today, but frankly, favors don't matter at the moment.
Yeah, I think SK, though, have a very definitive identity that has allowed them to kind of sort things out, right? Like, Mark Kuhn has been playing fantastically in that jungle, going for some of these earlier junglers like the Elise, looking to play around bot side. And I think that's where, when you look at Astralis and Cobby's kind of been their shining light, it's going to be a case of, can you darken that light in the bot lane for SK?
Oh, darken that light. I like it. Can SK switch the light off for Astralis? Get rid of them. That's what we're going to find out. We're about to get into picks and bans. I want to ask you to set some expectations. You talked a little bit about Mark Kuhn's champion pool. What sort of lanes, what sort of expectations are you anticipating for our 3rd week on the same patch?
Well, I think the really interesting thing is that neither of these supports have actually played the Heimerdinger, which has been such a crucial one. We've seen it ban 50% of the games that SK have played. So, that Astralis have played. They don't want to get their hands on it. So I think it's going to be interesting to see if that priority is still there, or maybe if Exakick and DOS want to try and bring that one to the forefront.
Well, we'll find out in a moment or two. Elise immediately banned away. So Dagda, bang on the money there. I think, reminder, we are playing on patch 13.1. The rules here at the LEC, we stay on the same patch for the regular season. So what that means is those priority picks that we've seen, the Maokais, the Lucians, the Namis, the Yumis are still high priority. And there's the cat has been banned. Berlin loves it, the cheers already.
Yeah, I mean, I like that Astralis have kind of gone for, hey, we're going to focus this on towards making sure that we can get a good matchup for 1-1-3 in the jungle, and then focusing on the bot side. You can even see SK Gaming's going with a very similar story. So Caitlyn, Ashe, Yumi gone as well. Maokai now taken off the board. I wouldn't be surprised to see things like the Lucian Nami now rising very high in priority in this bot lane.
Or have DOS and Junghoon practice that Heimer to play it this week. Neither of them have any professional games in their history. It hasn't been something you would anticipate. So if there were a time to surprise, this could be it.
Yeah, I mean, always the option to just go back towards something like the Varus as well, which is still open unless it's banned away here by SK Gaming. But I think you still have a good option here as Astralis, right? I think jungle and bot lane have been so pivotal in this meta at the moment, and it looks like you're going to immediately get 1-1-3. Actually going for the Sejuani, which I'm kind of surprised with, because I know we've seen him play the Sejuani once already, but he's much more favored things like the Viego.
Do you want to know how many all-time career games 1-1-3 has on Sejuani?
How many?
1. It's that one game we've seen this winter, and it was a defeat. I will say, though, when you look at the fact that the Maokai is off the table, and I think crucially, when we were talking about some of the teams that were struggling last week, that idea, I think Mark Kuhn in particular, playing a champion like Sejuani that has the engaged potential to dictate the tempo, to be the front of the spear when it comes to fighting. If you can, as Vedius likes to say, keep it simple, Sejuani, that's how you can obviously help set your team up.
And I think that's what we're looking at here as well, especially when you look towards, as you say, things like the Wukong and stuff that can struggle into the Sejuani. I think that's a good option. This is not what I was expecting, though. Going for the Ezreal here for Cobby in that bot side, I thought they'd actually fall back to like a Varus Karma here and basically go, right, we will scale into this poke. We know that we're going to have, like, we're up against the Lucian Nami that apart from the culling is relatively short range, so we can probably try and land some. But even Irrelevant as well, going for the Jax. Hasn't played at this split. We've seen him bring out the Camille, but apart from that, it's been mostly these kind of team fight oriented engaged champions. So kind of surprised to see that he wants to flex his muscles into this Jax pool.
Now, of course, talk a little bit about what this means for phase 2, because you got both bot laners locked in. Irrelevant's top laner, blind picked, and 1-1-3 is obviously blind at Sejuani. The priority is going to be mid lane ban for Charlotte and Cassidy. The Fiora removed as one of his counters. I would anticipate another top lane ban towards Finn, just to make Irrelevant's life a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, I'm also curious if they would just want to go towards the jungle as well, because SK haven't locked anything in for that jungle role. Make Mark Kuhn really uncomfortable, but I think for SK Gaming, I'm actually curious if we're about to see a different style from them. because you have the Jax, you have this Lucian Nami that's perfectly happy just sitting mid lane. I'm wondering if they actually end up falling back in towards something like a Twisted Fate or something along these lines for Certus, and then try and play this more 1-3-1 style, especially as we say, they're one win away from securing themselves the lock-in, so maybe this is your time to actually try some new things on the stage.
Well, of course, I think the fact that you've got a little bit of that safety net is a good shout. Instead, they will be locking in that Vi for now. You see where Marcoon's going to decide to prioritize his time. And I think, Dagda, you and I in particular, we're very impressed with how Marcoon and SK kind of turned their games around last week. They did go 3-0. I think a large part of it, at least in my opinion, was how Marcoon was able to dictate where the rest of the team was focusing on those engaged style champions.
And also the homework he did, right? Like oftentimes you see him go for clever pathing that separated the team out, made sure that he could actually play around this bottom side of the map, but we'll have to see if he can do so once more, because the Gangplank going to be taken for Finn in that top side. He had a phenomenal game on the Gnar in their win, and wants to see now if he can take on more of a carry role from that top side with the Gangplank.
It is, of course, Finn's second most played champion as well. Out of the 130 games we have on record, 22 of them have been on that Gangplank. Sorry, correction, 230 games. I dropped 100. It is going to be rounded out with that Silas, so Certus will have the option to counterpick. As we see this come in now with the LeBlanc, zoom out, how do these compositions play, and what will their keys to victory be?
So I actually like the way Astralis drafted their last two champions, because I think they were kind of on the same boat as me. They're like, okay, it looks like we're going to see much more of a kind of a 1-3-1 comp, and we have seen it from SK, and I think they were eyeing up something like the Twisted Fate, but instead have fallen back to the LeBlanc, because they want to try and play it through sides, but it's actually not the best of matchups into the Silas. It's very skill dependent. Silas can actually do quite a lot of work because the Kingslayer and that, so I think it's going to be a bit of a difficult lane state for SK in that mid lane, and then it's going to be a case of if they can then utilize the strong bot lane Lucian Nami plus the Jax on that top side to try and gain these leads that they can push through in the mid game.
It feels a little bit to me like Astralis' team comp may favor or may prefer some team fights. I think when I look at the Karma, the Sejuani, the Gangplank, hell, even Silas, there's a lot of synergies in there. So do you think that if we get into these 4v4s, 5v5 scenarios, SK have to be a little bit careful?
Definitely, and I think as well it's also a composition that does very well at kiting back, right? If you can fall back as a Karma and Ezreal, Gangplank barrels are all set up, that can work out very well. You've even got the Sejuani that can kind of provide engage if you get those opportunities, but I think overall they have a good way of matching sides in a lot of situations. It's going to make it tough for SK to try and work through their own style if they don't get that lead.
I don't normally ask this question, but I think if you turn nameplates off, if you ignore we'll get to it in a second. It's time to hit the rift. And welcome to Summoner's Rift through the multiverse of the big screen here in Berlin. And Astralis immediately setting themselves up with a little bit of a top lane shenanigans. Stepping all the way forward. Of course, that is the Gangplank barrel. Not quite sure why that shown up as red. That's an interesting one to me. It looks like a bit of an observer glitch as far as I'm concerned, but irrelevant. Not going to be at any risk for now. Defensive start across the rest of the board. And no, nothing to be gained right now. So the question I was going to ask was, do you think these two team comps are a little bit of like a stylistic, I don't want to say mismatch, but like difference of approach to gameplay?
Definitely. I mean, for Astralis, it kind of feels like they're going back towards something that is like, it's a bit of a weird one because it's traditional team fighting, right? But I think it's a little bit different in the way that they've been operating so far. Like, they've been looking at like having Finn on the Casantes, and the Gnars I think have been where they look the best. Him trying to set up as a frontline tank, and then having 113 play a bit more carry, but it feels like we're kind of shifting a lot of these roles where Finn's now carry, 113 is on tank, and even Kabe isn't really going to be the focus for Astralis, which has been where they put a lot of their focus. This kind of feels like, to me, they're going hyper defensive, knowing they're up against SK, who have been so good at prioritizing advantages in this bot side.
I'm really glad you actually brought that up. And as the two lanes start to trade, just take a look at SK Gaming stats at the bottom of your screen. In terms of week 1, no first blood, no first down, negative at 14 minutes. We'll have to come back to that. Kobe's already forced backwards. Now the damage reply from Jonghyun and Kobe. Summon a heal block. Traded back and forth. Does force to flash. Exit kick down to 200. Down to 110. Gets the heal from the ebb and flow. Sidesteps away the Mystic Shot. Exit kick. First blood again.
And I was about meant to say this was actually working out fairly well for Kobe and Jonghoon. They're like, cool, we've got more damage in the Karma. We're running press the attack. If we can keep this fight going for a while, we're going to be able to outmatch the first strike that's on Exakick. But they end up taking that step too far, and Exakick beautifully punishes.
The play back and forth, both sides blowing all 4 summoner spells. And Exakick stepping forward again right at the end to pick that up. I mean, this is literally a game of inches.
Yeah, and I think you go a bit too far forward here, definitely as Kobe, right? Which means he has to flash away. But that's where the first strike has now kind of disappeared. So Kobe now is just getting a ton of damage off this press the attack. Jonghoon forced to flash away as well. And if you just stop here, this is actually great. Like, Lucian Nami, you're going to be pushed back, you outrange them, but Jonghoon takes that one step too far, and really well played by Exakick to get that kill.
I absolutely love just the calculation in Exakick's head. He knew it, he anticipated it, and you know what I was trying to highlight actually ends up being demonstrated quite flawlessly. The early game benefits, right? First blood in 2 of last week's games, picked up again. Marcoon may be hunting once more. Remember, there's no flashes. They're just going to apply this pressure. This defensive comp may never get a chance to defend.
Oh, Jonghoon, he's going to walk into this.
Charge up, charge up. Vault Breaker won't find its target, spamming some of those memes, but no threat just yet.
And this is why SK have been doing so well in these early stages, is because Marcoon has learned how to set up Exakick and DOS for success on this bot side. This has been the mainstay winning lane for SK, and that's how they've been playing through into their mid game, using these advantages Exakick and DOS have picked up, and then playing for big team fights. And you can already see, I mean, big advantage gained by the duo in that bot side, but Marcoon wants to make sure he can continue capitalizing on it.
Exakick hasn't spent that money just yet, so we'll be able to come back to lane with a statistic advantage in a moment or two. As Irrelevant, we'll be able to use that counter-strike to stun up Finn for now. Eats the orange, he's okay. Small CS advantage for the Jax in the time being. Significant for Certus at the moment, by the way. He's up 12 CS, and I think that wave is fairly large in front of Dayo. It's actually not, just 1.5. So Certus getting the advantage. We haven't seen exactly how he generated that lead, but that is very impressive and a little bit against what we're expecting.
Yeah, I think this is a matchup that tends to go well for the LeBlanc in the early stages, but oh, Jonghoon.
Another burst of damage. Jonghoon going to be chunked out low. DOS the target from Kobe, stepping forward, firing Mystic Shot off the Mystic Shot inside the minion wave. Exakick has to be careful. The minions are doing a lot of work. Kobe, no flash available to him, can't get in range. And Exakick wants to stick around. He wants to bait. Here comes Marcoon. He has to be flawless from Kobe. Does Exakick try and pick up the assist here? Mystic Shot will connect. Denting blows, as well as that charge from the Vault Breaker. Soul kill there for Marcoon.
I mean, nice attempt from Kobe to try and play around the minions, but he was never going to have a chance, really. But, I mean, at least one kill going back over, but this bot lane is very quickly going out of control. 300 gold now. Serrated Dirk picked up early for Exakick as well. This is where this lane can really start to take over. And, I mean, it's just a nice play from DOS, right? Good bubble, expecting Jonghoon to press forward eventually, and managed to get the turnaround. But with the big minion line here and the press the attack specifically on towards Kobe, these early Ezreals can actually do quite a bit of damage. And I want to point out the build we're probably going to see from Kobe as well, because I think he's going for the newer style build, which gives you the Essence Reaver and that kind of stuff. So you actually are able to fight a little bit harder than we think of most traditional Ezreals who have the tier stars.
We'll see once that build continues to play out. So Sheen and double longswords, as we're watching Marcoon pick up that 3rd kill for SK. I want to highlight that Astralis, we're able to sneak away that Infernal Dragon, 5 minutes on the clock, so that's a big win, despite the fact the team is down 1,000 gold. And Marcoon is once again active on the map. I mean, 113, yes, he's made that play for the objective, but it's Marcoon that's ganked twice in the bottom lane, now setting up a 3rd on the top lane, wants to maybe wait for those powder kegs to go. While that's happening, 113 shows his face mid lane. I'm keeping my eye on the mini-map, though, in case Marcoon goes in.
Yeah, he will in a second. He's waiting for the wave to push out that little bit further, hoping that Finn blows these barrels, and there we go.
All right, Cannon Barrage is available here for Finn. Flash is already used, a lot of damage traded back and forth. They will get that flash, they will push him back. And this wave is now moving towards Irrelevant, so it makes life for Finn even harder.
It's also the fact that Irrelevant still has his TP as well. Finn had already used his to get back to lane, so not only does Irrelevant get to freeze this wave, he can TP back in and keep this pressure up. Marcoon as well has his red buff spawning soon on that top side, so clear his bot side, immediately move up here again and try and rinse and repeat, because as you know already, bot lane going pretty fine. Your mid lane's working out well, where you're starting to get that push, starting to get that little bit of damage onto the tower. So this is where I want to see 113 now, starting to try and match Marcoon and making sure he can't continue to have this influence.
And I mean, talking about influence, the fact that teleport's available, Finn has used his as well as that Cannon Barrage, so it just delays the ability to impact the map. especially with the amount of trading we've seen down this bottom lane. DOS takes a big burst of damage, but replies to Kobe. Now DOS steps forward, down to 300, 150. Ebb and Flow keeps him alive. 113, only level 5, no prison available to him, but he's waiting in the wings. I don't think he's been spotted either, and he's just ding 6.
He hit 6 off the minion wave. He has flash.
Fight.
No flash available next to kick. Can they get him?
Fight, waiting for the prison!
Ooh.
It's dashed away from. All of Berlin clinching, and the golf claps from the dodge.
Fantastic reactions from Exakick, though, just barely spotting that out as it came over the wall, managing to step away, but that was very, very close. But this is what I was talking about with this Ezreal build. It's like Essence Reaver into the Kraken Slayer, into the Navori Quick Blades. You actually have a decent amount of fighting power, especially with the press the attack as well. And you can see when you actually manage to get some of these Sheen procs hitting off the Mystic shots, especially into some of the squishiest DOS, they can really start to hurt.
The thing is, Astralis also need to make sure that their big impact abilities land. No Cannon Barrage, no TP for Finn. That Glacial Prison, the first time from 113, it's dodged away from. And these small things start to matter. It's a 1,000 gold lead for SK Gaming. They're up 10 CS in the top lane, 13 in the middle lane. And despite them being even in the bot lane, because Exakick's got that kill and assist, still ahead in the itemization race. But again, for Astralis, 2 minutes until the next dragon, they picked up that first one. I think that's another great objective to focus around. Whether or not SK fancy challenging for it, that's what we're going to have to watch.
I do think it's a bit of a mistake for Astralis to try and challenge at the moment, though. The early spikes from SK are way more significant, right? You think of Lucian with a Gale Force, you think of like Luden's Echo coming in for the LeBlanc. That's really where you start to become a massive threat. Whereas when I look across at Astralis, pretty close. They are much heavier spiking off of like 1.5 to 2 items, right? Because you want a bit more on your Ezreal, same when you look towards this Silas, and even for Finn as well, who's going to be that mega scaler in the top side. So definitely going to be a little bit of a slower pace for Astralis. So that's why getting that early dragon was actually crucial for them, because they can kind of take that step back.
Yeah, they can, and I think we've not watched too much of the rest of the map because of how much pressure there is in the bottom lane. Kabi and Jonghoon able to push forward, secure that tower plate. I want to briefly look at the stats, although are they going to fight? They are going to fight. We'll have to come back to this. No more graphics, Trevor. Aqua Prison will at least throw up Jonghoon. Tidal Wave forces out the summoner heal, chucking out those autos. Flash over the wall. Flash for Kabi too. Here comes Markoon. Cease and desist. Dunk down onto Jonghoon. Now the tower dive. How clean is this? 113 coming from behind. Glacial Prison's available to him, and Kabi's dead. Flashing away from the prison. No one's locked in place. SK get 2, and the Cannon Barrage gets nothing.
And the Cannon Barrage was just seconds away from coming off cooldown. They were trying desperately for Astralis to survive until that ultimate came up, but just that little bit too little too late, and SK get away with it.
Oh, production have just informed me. I saw 19 hit points on DOS escaping. It was actually 5. 5 hit points is what DOS was able to escape with. And because of that play, 2,000 gold is the lead.
And it's kind of sad. I mean, it's Astralis falling behind now, but SK playing well. Markoon forces 113 out of his jungle, forces him back into his own side of the map, so they know they've got first move onto bot lane, punish the bot lane again, and now you're starting to get this Lucian into a really good position. Really wants to get that Gale Force completed as soon as possible, but they should be able to move in towards this dragon without it and see if they can try and contest Astralis on this objective.
I mean, Astralis a little bit behind. If you look at itemization though, outside of that Black Cleaver for Markoon, no one's picked up their first big ticket, so a bit of thrift shopping back and forth. And it feels like whichever one of these supports or ADs gets caught by some CC, that skirmish just loses instantly. And so far it's been SK landing a few more punches, with again backed up by Markoon. That dive, again great, and showing how Markoon is enabling his team to take advantage when he's playing around those lanes.
Yeah, and it's why they're waiting for his ult to come back up before they go for the dragon as well. But this is just nice from Exakick and DOS, right? Great bubble, Exakick starting it off with the culling. And Markoon knows he's safe, because if you look at the mini-map, right, you already know the Sejuani's gone on towards LeBlanc in the mid lane, so they know that there's going to be no help. So Markoon is happy to go deep on this one.
Oh man, that feels so bad. Jonghoon just dunked down. And while we're in that replay again, Deck, that dragon is secured, but this time by SK, completely uncontested, completely unchallenged. Astralis recognizing, I feel, not only they're a little bit behind in terms of golden items, but also they didn't have key ultimates for a fight.
Well, they might still want to try and go for this, right? Markoon has that cease and desist available.
Oh, look at that piercing light damage, and nobody's finding a shot for Astralis. The prison goes wide. Jonghoon taking a lot of culling damage, True Shot Barrage unable to secure Exekick, and now 4 versus 2. No Cannon Barrage, no Teleport, no Finn. And Shelly's been dropped. With the help of the Rift Herald, 113, and Kobe could be the target. Here comes Certus, W's forward flash available. Tidal Wave captures one. Kobe is obliterated and executed by Exekick. 7 kills in 12 minutes.
I don't know who DOS made a deal with, but this man is not going down. He's become invincible. He's getting away in a sliver of health once more. And again, SK are playing so incredibly well around this bottom side. This is a team that really wants to make sure that they do secure themselves at group stage today.
Oh, fantastic start. We're only 12 minutes in. We've really not looked anywhere else because it's just been consistent skirmishes in the bottom lane. Look at that damage onto Kobe.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunate for 113. Ultimate goes wide. Jonghoon takes a step forward because he wants to try and keep the tether going, but means he's caught out in no man's land. And this is where, nearly they can turn it, but just not quite enough. DOS manages to escape away in a sliver of HP.
DOS 1-1-5 for his team, 7 kills. 4-0-2 for Exekick. He's got that Gale Force completed. He's up, 20, 30 CS. Got himself that Mythic, and it's straight into the Essence Reaver. So yes, maybe there's a little bit more combat power early on, but it just feels a little bit outmatched, especially when you throw down the Nami Ease on top of that Lucian passive. There's so much additional damage up front.
Yeah, I think it's hard because, I mean, we've seen how close these bot lane fights have been, and I think one of the big things you can try and do with a Lucian Nami is punish them pre-level 3, right? That's really where this duo comes online. It's just, they went a bit astray, now we got a bit more.
1-1-3's 3 seconds until the ultimate available. Marcoon hops over the wall, so 2v2 being set up. Irrelevant now, we'll be able to counter-strike, trading back and forth with that. Oh, Finn looking for the solo with the counter barrage! Finn takes down Irrelevant!
First Odo, now Irrelevant! Finn is popping off in this top lane. That's 2 solo kills in his last 2 games now.
Do you believe in Finn's ability to bring back this game? He's up 1.3k, the only member of Astralis ahead of his opposition, but while Finn is doing well, the rest of the map is falling to pieces. Jonghoon jumped on as Exekick destroys him. With Nami and that Gale Force, the 5th time this game, Jonghoon is down.
Yeah, this Karma is not having the best of times. Every single opportunity that they have, SK are immediately punishing Jonghoon overextending. And once more, you can see, Dayor, unfortunately, is just getting pushed in this whole time, so he's not able to match a lot of the roams from Certus, try and help out with 113. And again, SK putting on a masterclass.
Yeah, they really are. Copy the next target once again. Piercing Light picks up that kill. Take a look at the damage so far. Exekick doing work as is this time caught out by the Glacial Prison.
No.
He stays alive, but for how much longer? Gets the end. The flow and finally taken down with the flail. Now all of a sudden, 1-1-3. The Boar's looking for Sushi. Backup coming in here for Jonghoon as well as Certus. That's big. Killing Exekick gets yourself that bounty gold.
But it's on towards the Sejuani.
Yep.
I mean, in the top side as well, Marcoon, he's going to end up trading this across for the Rift Herald as well. So in the grand scheme of things, it's nice, but it's not really anything to write home about. SK are still going to be playing this map better.
It's still a 2,000 gold difference, largely because of the fact that Finn is obviously ahead for now. There were a couple plates secured, I think, in that bottom lane in favor of Astralis. Statistically, gold-wise, it's not that different, but crucially, if a fight breaks out, Exekick has to be locked down quickly or there may not be a chance to win it.
The biggest thing as well is that Finn more than likely won't be with his team for a lot of these fights, right? And this is a very good example of the problem when you are looking at the other 4 members on the map. Exekick can pretty much burst at anyone at this stage. He does it to Jonghoon. He then does it again 2 seconds later to Kobe, who's full health underneath his tower. This is just them absolutely whacking them with their wallets, to use Atlas's term. But it's absolutely insane. And Kobe, he tries to arcane shift forward to dissuade them, but it just sets up Exekick perfectly. And now the problem is, you've got this 4-man unit that can't really be dealt with on the bot side. Yes, Finn is huge, but unless SK try and just kind of go in towards these fights, gung-ho, front-to-back team fights, and end up running into a bunch of these barrels, it's not really going to lend Astralis enough to carry the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very big point. So Finn, where does he position? How much value can he get from those cannon barrages? Because right now, Exekick is just being moved around the map. Look at this, stepping forward. He's landed every single one of those piercing lights. And look, Finn's made his way down. Has the teleport, has the cannon barrage, but they need CC to lane. Glacial Prison from 113 has to connect.
But you can already see, I mean, SK setting up for that 1-3-1 that we were talking about, right? The Dragon is up and available, but if I'm SK, I actually do exactly what they're doing. You just push for towers. You don't really care about the dragon going across, because if you can open up this map, have Irrelevant starting to push pressure on the top side, same when you look at the LeBlanc on the bottom end, it becomes very easy for you to make plays happen.
This is the second Rift Herald that SK have summoned, if I recall correctly. Finn's going to throw out a battle, clear some of those minions. Tower in the mid lane will stand, but the bottom is just about secured for Certus. The top lane, I think, should also be taken down there by SK, so 2 towers unlocked. And remember that we are playing on the Chemtech map. The reason I want to draw attention to that, I think specifically the larger blast cones will be very valuable for Marcoon or Certus to find those surprising engages. They already have a lot of distance to cover. Combine that with a potential pop of that explosive blast cone, and all of a sudden the single target focus from a Vi, from a LeBlanc, can just blow up Astralis, allow SK to push that lead further.
Yeah, and the big one as well is for SK, the opportunity to try and use the fact now that these sideline towers are down to get deep vision is going to make it very tough now for Astralis to try and keep going, because you kind of touched on it earlier, Trevor, which was the amount of angles that SK can come in for. You can look at LeBlanc coming over a wall, Marcoon coming in another way, Exakick pops his head in as well and just says hello. Like, there's so many different ways that you can go for this, and I mean, might even find Dayor here.
We'll find out in a moment or two. SK Gaming, for the time being, they're on a 4-game winning streak. They were 3-0 last week. They won the last game of week 1, looking to go for game 5. I do think I'll take a brief moment just to quickly show everybody this table. If you look at those percentages, those are the percentage of remaining scenarios that a team will lock the top 8. If SK win this game, they'll lock the group stage, they lock top 8. If Astralis lose this game, which is looking that way, those percentages drop from 26% to 15% of the remaining scenarios. So there is still opportunities, but it obviously becomes significantly harder.
Yeah, and it also means that if SK win this, it then opens up a lot of opportunities for later on. Even our next game, right, Heretics, then if they can win, they can lock. So there is a lot of different teams that are watching these games to see exactly how it ends up panning out for the rest of them.
Well, SK Gaming still pushing that advantage, up 4,000. Dagda during picks and bans. You talked about the sort of 1-3-1, the side lane pressure that a Jax and a LeBlanc can be able to do. This Jax still down, 1,000 gold, 30 CS, but Irrelevant with that Divine Sundra, with the fact there's no towers in either top or bottom lane, is starting to push that out. You can see Certus push that wave all the way for Dayor to pick up. We're going to see yet another trade. Cannon Barrage has dropped, Counter-Strike back, eat the orange. All of a sudden, Finn forced to use that stopwatch. Teleport's being channeled. Dayor the first to arrive, but maybe not in time. That's a dead Finn. Here comes Dayor. He's managed to hijack the Grandmaster's challenge, but not going to be enough just yet as a leap from Irrelevant keeps him up. Certus may need to land another chain. No one else can jump in the fray. Members of SK now being jumped on. Irrelevant gets the Counter-Strike stun and sidesteps the steal. No one can be enough as Dayor finds the kill. There's pressure in the middle lane. That tower was secured, so SK playing the map when they're being engaged on.
Yeah, trying to see if they can get that tier 2 in the mid lane. Not quite able to do so, but again, they are at least getting something back. But when Finn is the biggest carry on Astralis right now, and he's losing out in nearly losing out in the 1v1 to Irrelevant, it's not going to be the best spots. Jonghoon, you've done this before!
Oh, Exakick 7-1 and 2. Rapid fire cannon completed. I mean, Kobe just, by the way, we talked about the builds. He hasn't yet completed that second item. SK, they're starting Baron.
Yeah, they're just going to go for it. You already know that Irrelevant's going to be able to TP in as soon as he gets up. Dayor has no TP, and he's been on the bottom side, so do they have the damage, though? It's 20 minutes into the 3-man.
There's no prison, no cannon barrage, no true shot barrage, and this means that SK, they are under less threat. However, they back away. They back away. Multiple members of Astralis step forward. Teleport was actually used from Irrelevant. And now it's Astralis that can apply some pressure in the middle lane. Certus, does he fancy him shots a shot? Goes forward to the W, forced to run away. Minions are slowly being cleared out, and the Q's being channeled up here from Marcoon. He's forced to flash for his life. Finn, Dayor, Kobe still looking for the tower, but here comes Irrelevant.
This is where you got to see what Irrelevant can do. Has that ultimate available? Can he get a multi-man?
Remember, the goal difference is significant, but in team fights, the synergies of Astralis comp cannot be denied. Use that stopwatch to buy some time. Tidal wave into the glacial prison. Irrelevant is the first to fall on behalf of SK, and the culling will not find Jonghoon. Astralis sneak themselves a kill, and as we take a breath, take a moment, in those head-to-heads, you can see how the team composition can make up for that goal difference deficit.
Yeah, I mean, Irrelevant definitely taking a step way too far forward, but also was kind of prime location for Astralis. Immediately Cannon Barrage goes down on the choke, so the rest of SK can't follow up on the big wave that came through from DOS. So actually, really nice job from Finn to control that choke point and make sure Astralis could get out before the rest of SK showed up.
There's still 4,000 gold down. They're still down 3 towers to 1, and the next dragon is up in 20 seconds. I like that SK are littering this bottom quadrant of the map with a lot of wards. You can see Exekick and Marcoon clearing out the red buff, but this is now the team fight how it started out.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised to see them go this ham, right? They don't know where the rest of Astralis is. You've already got the LeBlanc going for the reset as well, so she definitely can't be involved. So there's a very high chance this is a 5v4, but watch here, right? Cannon Barrage, the ultimate from 113. Nobody in SK can actually follow up here because of the position even of that barrel, right? If you try to move through the choke, Finn is going to absolutely destroy you now that he's hit his second item. So really nice job from Astralis to spot how they could use the terrain in their favor there.
And that means that Astralis keep themselves a little bit in touch. 22 minutes in, still only that 3,000. I mean, this is a story of two halves. Finn and 113 really need to help set things up on behalf of Astralis, and they need to find a way to control Exekick, who's just obliterating this bottom lane.
And this is where I think the conversation has to turn to, like, how jacks are used in like the LEC versus what we see in like LPL or LCK, right? Because I think when we look across at the eastern regions, they're very good at kind of separating out fights, so they end up in a bunch of skirmishes, and you can actually look to pick off 1 or 2 members rather than have to go for these more front-to-back fights. And I think that's why we're seeing like Irrelevant here struggling on the jacks, is you're not really setting up properly to go, oh well, if I can force my way into a fight where it's only 2 people that I'm dealing with at any point in time, Jax gets so much value. But in these fights where he's being focused down, he just doesn't have enough tankiness to actually deal with it.
No, not yet. Needs to pick up a few more items and have some more time. But I think for Astralis, you can see some of the nerves. They really need to set things up a little bit more controlled. The Ezreal just to scout out that Baron, realizing that because SK tried the 20-minute attempt, that they need to have some vision, but they can't. They can't push too far beyond the river. We saw Finn trying to land some barrels onto Certus, no real threat to speak of. And there's a teleport available for Certus, not for Irrelevant, but the minimap is still set up 1-3-1. So, Dagda, I want you to keep tracking for this. Like, do you like how SK are trying to push these waves? Are they generating advantages from it? Or could you see alternative ways to utilize that Jax?
I do like what they're doing at the moment, which is just like dipping into Fog of War and making sure Astralis can't spot out where they're going. But realistically, they need to actually use this to push mid, establish vision in the top side. Don't just dip into the Fog of War, and then you can actually have Irrelevant push in deeper and make sure that he's going to be fine. But if you're not able to know where Astralis are, SK can't really do much. Now we're seeing them put that vision down at the moment, and that's kind of what they need to do. But LeBlanc should also be pushing in that bot side to try and create pressure at another time rather than linking up as a 4-man unit.
Yeah, it felt like that Finn little skirmish kind of put pressure, and Certus backed away. He's going to need to use that W to safety. Cease and desist way downtown. Marcoon split from the rest of SK. Manages to dash back with the Q. True Shot Barrage flies out. Deo has stolen the tidal wave, but now he's facing 4 members. Make that 3 as Irrelevant has held multiple members of Astralis back. Deo cannot find the kill just yet. Marcoon's on a killing spree. Everybody held at bay, but SK get the kill.
That was so nice to a good, or so close to a nice fight for Astralis, but just not quite able to get the barrel combo for Finn. And SK, they want more.
Oh, Finn is finito. Taken out by Exekick. Backed up by both Certus and DOS with 2 members down. Do they fancy themselves the Baron? It's 2 minutes until the next dragon. They are pushed. There's not many minion waves to work with, so they're starting this one off. True Shot Barrage not available. Prison not available. The 113, does he even fancy a shot? It doesn't look like it right now.
I don't think they can get in if they even want to. I mean, 113 going to be spotted by Certus.
They've got the time here, Dagda. They've got the time. That's a root coming out from the chains. Caught by the prison as well. Baron should be secured. It's Irrelevant Certus keeping Astralis at bay. That's so much damage from Certus. He's just dinged level 16, and the empowered recalls allow SK to get out. SK are on a 4-game winning streak. If they win this game, it'll be the first time since spring 2021 where they won 5 games in a row.
I mean, also the fact that they managed to lock themselves into the group stage is going to be so incredibly nice. And I think it says a lot about the growth that we've seen from this squad from week 1 to week 2. But, I mean, this is a big play here. Flash over actually gets Cobby in an off position. But watch his barrel combo. Finn, if he managed to get that turret barrel down, everyone in SK was grouped up. But wasn't quite in position to get it down. And then it's just a case of Irrelevant buying so much time here, while the rest of SK are just decimating Dayor in the back line.
I actually missed it live, the fact that he delivered Marcoon to a 40% HP copy. Great catch there, Dagda. Unfortunately, that meant that Kobe had to back away. Now, ultimately, would it have had a significant impact on the fight if Kobe had got 1 or 2 more Qs over the wall? Maybe not in the grand scheme of things, but the fact they have to play defensive, they're consistently falling backwards. Dayor is going to hijack that culling, and with the Baron-empowered minions, all 5 members of SK, 6,000 gold up, and they just brute force their way, as Atlas would say, smacking Astralis with their wallets.
Yeah, and I love the way SK have been playing, right? I think this is kind of what I was touching on, like the difference that we've seen between week 1, where you kind of had the bot lane getting a lead, but wasn't really sure how to capitalize on it. But it feels like they've really doubled down on that identity and have managed to get these big wins for themselves, 4 Exakick, and now they want to try and push it home further.
Oh, goodbye. Goodbye, indeed. I think with the additional range from that rapid fire cannon, the movement speed from Nami, just how far ahead. 4.6 thousand gold the lead. Exakick is definitely the man in the moment here for SK. Finn gets punched in the face by those giant gloves, and another inhibitor's falling. SK are moments away from securing group stage or picking up a 5-game winning streak. And I said at the top of the show today that this is the team that could be looking at top 2. With this type of play, they're definitely making a case for it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big case of trying to see if they're able to win this game, what happens in group stage, because I think they definitely have a very defined style of, hey, we want to set up Exakick and DOS, and I'm curious to see what happens when they get to the next stage. Teams are able to prepare for them in that best of 3, but right now, in this game, they look absolutely spectacular.
3 dragons to their name. That gold lead has ballooned significantly, and we're just going to watch again as Astralis are being just picked off one by one. Oh, immediately, EUs, and they just dive in.
Yeah, they saw they were already trying to set up the death bush there, but once Kobe went for that to try and get the creep, I don't think that goal was really worth it. He knows as well.
Oh, that is such a great shot. Okay, so I want to just mention this again, because if you look at SK Gaming's opponents playing Astralis today, XL tomorrow, and then Fnatic on Monday, as 113 may go down. If SK win all 3 of those games, and that's very likely, they have 92% of remaining scenarios where they lock top 2. And having a top 2 place means they'll be first seed into the group. They get to pick their opponents from a seed 3 or seed 4. Nobody was anticipating that. Obviously, SK have to deliver. It starts by closing this game out, but it feels like an inevitability at this point.
Yeah, I mean, especially they got XL and Fnatic still to play, teams that have been struggling. This could be SK taking that, which is absolutely fantastic for this squad. I mean, they've been playing so well together. Like, there was definitely that hump that they had to get over in week 1, but since then, it's been smooth sailing, and they're looking to cleanly close this out against Astralis here.
Astralis are in trouble. That's a lot of damage onto Younghoon. Those ethereal chains not finding their target, meaning Younghoon survives this time round. He's been dropped 6 times out of his team's 15 deaths. Not entirely his fault, just great focus from Exakick and from DOS and from Marcoon playing around that bottom lane and then literally moving those units around to take tower after tower.
Yeah, I think the only hope really here for Astralis is SK overextend a little bit. You get a miracle barrel play from Finn, because he does have the Navori quick play completed now. Does have that extra crit chance, makes you very, very potent in these fights, but other than that, I don't think Kobe really has it in him now to carry as much. Dayor still has his 3 items completed, but it's just so difficult for him to really have any sort of relevancy in these fights with the way that SK have been able to set them up.
Yeah, and of course, now you take a look there as well. Mikhail's blessing on top of the fact that there's not a huge amount of CC that'll hold the likes of Exakick or Certus down. DOS can just unlock whoever gets caught by that prison to melt through the remaining members of Astralis. And I think if you are watching at home, please do forgive me from stepping away from the game as often as I have, but I do think it is important to highlight the fact that Astralis are playing Fnatic and Koi. Those are 3 teams that are legitimately in the running to not make top 8. SK lock top 8 with this win, and we look at Astralis, Fnatic tomorrow, Astralis, Koi on Monday. Any one of those teams could fall to 9-10 and not advance to the group stage.
Yeah, I think for Fnatic and Koi, though, they're going to be pretty happy that Astralis doesn't look like they're going to be winning this one, because it takes a little bit of the pressure off them about getting towards that bottom 2. But Astralis still desperately trying to hold on here.
Dayor waiting to see, does he pull the trigger? Cease and desist available to him. The Glacial Prison doesn't find a target. The mobility from SK dodging every ultimate from Sejuani. Super minions pouring into the base. Irrelevant, very relevant this game, despite being behind Finn for most. He's been able to push the waves. He's been able to do his job in the 1-3-1. And I think I've been fairly impressed with just how rapidly SK have been able to push at least into the base. And now you can see that the risk, right? Despite the giant lead, despite the advantages, you're still fighting into a teamfight composition that's good at falling back. So SK playing respectfully.
Yeah, I think as well, this game has kind of shown that SK do have a different side to them as well, because they've been very heavy on the relevant will be our tank front line. We will go for fights around objectives, but they had a very good understanding in the mid game of, hey, we're going to give up second dragon. We're going to make sure we can get all 3 of these outer towers down. It sets up well, but now they want to go for more.
Dun, 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 dun. The engage onto Young-hoon. Here comes Irrelevant from behind. The tidal wave as well as the counter-strike stun doing so much work, and Sortus forced to run for his life from Deo's Silas. Multiple members of SK are just burning through the HP bars, but it is at the cost of Irrelevant's life. Exekick flies forward before Cobby gets one back. Now all of a sudden Deo trying to do what he can, the last man standing for Astralis into 3 members of SK Gaming. They get something, but it ends up being a 4 for 2 in favor of SK.
Dayer was entirely pushed out of that fight to the top side, and if he'd been there, maybe that could have been the moment for Astralis, but SK, they might be a bit bloody, but they do get the win in that fight, and now with 30 seconds until Seoul, they got a good reset time.
Let's watch this. Did Dayo chase Certus, or was he pushed away, Dagda? It looks to me like Dayo turns his attention to try focus down Certus LeBlanc.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's easier for Certus to get back into this fight. I was looking here to see what Astralis was going to get on this bot side. Good flash over the wall from Finn here to try and stay alive, but even the barrels you can see flashed away from Exekick. He doesn't really get the damage that he wants on it as well. And then Exekick tries to make the big play with the Gale Force, but there is a substantial amount of damage still with those double Essence Reapers, the double Sheen procs coming through, and they're able to burst them out. But Soul now going to be going across to SK as well. This just becomes so hard now.
It really, really does. Imagine if this game had been somewhat different. Oh, a little bit of stress face there on the side of Exekick. We saw in the minimap the Soul was secured, so Kim Tech Drake Soul picked up by SK Gaming. Last ditch effort inside Baron. No flash for Irrelevant. Here comes the rest of SK. There is a split off. It looks like there's a siege. Finn has been able to take down Certus, but it's at the cost of his life. Now all of a sudden, SK lost another. SK lost a third. The Baron is still available. No ways. Astralis, they're only down 4K. They're down the Soul. They've turned their attention to the Baron.
That was perfect from Astralis, playing the choke point, finding Certus first, now Exekick, but SK, they're not going to try and contest. They're going to try and take down these structures in the enemy base.
We have got a game on our hands as Irrelevant will try to take down at least one of these inhibitors. The empowered recalls will come in momentarily. The Baron still being secured. Irrelevant can jump on Young-hoon, and he does. Counter-Strike doesn't find its target. Dayo can steal the Grandmaster's might as Irrelevant's no flash available. He should go down. No, hops over onto the ward. Now turning his attention to try take out Young-hoon.
Who's locked into it too? I don't know anymore.
Dayo takes down Irrelevant. Okay, Dagda, zoom out now with Baron and Supers pushing into their base for Astralis. They're playing into the Soul, but that's kind of neutralized the rift just a little.
Yeah, I mean, this was just the perfect fight, right? Certus actually launches himself into the barrel chain, Finn has a ton of damage, Immortal Shield Bow comes out, and as well, DOS forced completely away from Exekick. He's got no one. Dayor stealing away the cease and desist to flash onto Exekick. This was exactly what Astralis needed. Immediately killed the 2 backliners, and then they can try and go for more, but I mean, Baron up creeps here. Irrelevant still isn't alive. This is still a 4 versus 5.
There is no way Astralis can turn this one around. Pushing inside the base. Have they done it? Have they got the power? Baron and powered minions being used to equalize that mid lane inhibitor. They back away. I think you have to keep going back to this draft. Remember that in these 5v5 scenarios, if SK cannot take down Dayo or Cobby, you see the power of that composition from Astralis working.
It's also people like Exekick can just hit critical mass. He's nowhere else to go, so this massive gold lead of nearly 6,000 gold is starting to depreciate every single time because now Cobby's starting to get his items underneath them. You look at that top side as well. Finn has been so good this game once more. Now he's just hit that full build with the GA completed. This is actually where Astralis do have a fighting chance, but it's still going to be a case of can SK enable Exekick? Can Certus find these angles to get onto the big damage dealers?
Dagda, in my mind, when you look at this gold graph having been reset, this game has been reset. In the current state, at even gold, I think, yes, Exekick has got more damage, obviously, than Cobby. But I think it's fair to say that in teamfights, Finn's Gangplank may have more impact than Irrelevant. Do you favor Astralis as we see these teams setting up round objectives? 3 minutes until Elder, fighting on an inhibitor turret. I think when they group 5v5, I think I fancy Astralis more.
And this is where I want to see SK actually trying to play towards their side lane, so you don't have this position. Right now, they're trying to use it to look for picks, but, I mean, look where top wave is. They don't actually have to stress out about any sort of pressure there, so they're just immediately going to turn towards the side lane instead. Wave has already been cleared out of mid, so again, there's no pressure there. Like, this is where Astralis are just playing the map better than SK.
SK, what's your call? What's your call? They try to push mid. They've decided to recall. There's 2 teleports available. And Finn is left on defensive duty. Where is he TPing in? To this bottom lane. Irrelevant can try to flank. Baron-empowered minions are being chipped away and removed. It's 5 members of Astralis pushing in the bottom lane. Baron will time out in just a few seconds. And for now, SK Gaming have been pushed all the way back into their base. Astralis brute forcing the gold lead for the first time in 38 minutes.
I think that was a bit of a mistake from Finn TPing in here, though. Now your Baron buff is gone.
Oh, Glacial Prison! That's a good prediction, but there's nothing to follow. There's no one to follow that up. SK smell. Oh, Finn lands a beautiful barrel, forcing SK to retreat. He takes down Surges once more. Finn has put Astralis in his backpack and is trying to carry them to the win.
These last 2 games from Finn have been extraordinary. The Gnar against Excel was crucial to that win. And now again, he's trying to do the same on this gangplank. You can see Dayor smiling for what feels like the first time this entire game.
They're going in for the final push. 2 super minions pouring onto the Nexus Toast. The first has been cleared. Dale has teleported into the fray. Look for the barrel. Look for the barrel! Oh! Doss loses 80%. He gets him. Parlay sends him to the fountain. All of a sudden, SK are routed and running for their lives. They've lost 3. Looking for 2 more. All of a sudden, Astralis cannot find Irrelevant just yet. The Nexus Toast still stands. The minions are alive. 10 seconds before Surges is up. Irrelevant is buying so much time. He's finally taken out as Marcoon gets one back on a Yonhoon, but it doesn't matter. The Nexus Toast the focus. Can Surges pull off something magical? I don't think he can.
It's over.
How did Astralis do it? They take down SK.
How? There is no other word in my brain except how. Astralis with the miracle comeback in the last week to try and get themselves into groups.
And look at the reactions from the players. My heart is pounding. My brain is confuddled. And I do not understand how that worked out. All credit to SK's early game, all credit to the lead they built up. But my man, Finn, what a performance on that gangplank. Those barrels into SK stepping, eating that damage.
It was absolutely insane. I mean, great setup from 113 with those Sejuani ults in the late game as well. And as you say, the barrels, all the difference in those fights, they find 1 or 2 moments that they can really push this forward. And I mean, SK just crumbled, couldn't close out the game quick enough.
Unbelievable. And the thing that I love so much, had SK picked up this win, they would have obviously locked in group stage, locked in top 8. The fact that they drop it to Astralis, who have now only got 2 wins out of the 7 games played. I hate to do this to you, Dagda, but it truly just keeps reminding you, every single game counts.
But the thing is, right, if you're Koi, Fnatic, Excel, you're now looking, going, hang on a bloody second. Like, but this was, you know, they pop out. It's the meme, you know. I went to make dinner and they came back. I was like, what the hell happened? So this is honestly where I'm scared if I'm Fnatic, Koi, Excel, like, you now really have to worry about Astralis because you play them. Like, they can actually overcome you here.
It's the first game of week 3 of the Winter Split, and already things are spicy. Listen, player of the game nominees at LEC on Twitter, Finn113 and Dayor. Frankly, if you do not vote for Finn, you are inting. Finn is, I think, a large reason as to why that team was able to come back, and I think interesting starts to the week. I think ultimately, maybe SK's games to lose. I think the advantage they accrued, the way they played, but don't take anything away from Astralis. They didn't concede, and they used that comp exactly as they wanted to.
Yeah, and I think that's the big win here. Is like, I thought we saw SK playing the early to mid game very well, but as we got to that later point, they just didn't understand how to make that comp work.
They really did not. For now, we're going to head on stage with Trouble standing by with 113.
Thank you very much, Trevor, and thank you for joining me one more thing. What? How? Okay, I need to compose myself because everyone's laughing. How did you guys turn this game around?
I don't know. I was a bit lost in early game, but yeah, we believed in it, and it was like a silver yellow solo queue game actually, and we won. I don't know how much gold did they have.
I think about 5 or 6K up.
I mean, yeah, they had Soul as well. And yeah, we just looked to farm and we lost early. We couldn't do much. And yeah.
Well, congratulations on your second win here, because this is very important. Again, Excel is playing later on. And welcome to the LEC stage as well. If I'm not wrong, this is your first interview here. How has the journey been so far for you?
I mean, it's really stressful since there is only 3 weeks. We have really low windows to lose games, and it's really punishing, this format of 3 weeks. But I'm enjoying it so far. I think it's a shame if we don't make it to the top 8 after this game, and hope we will make it. Yeah.
Well, talking about top 8. Talking about top 8, of course, you've got 2 more games coming up. One is going to be Fnatic, one is going to be Koi. What do you think about both of these games?
I think Malrang is the best jungle in the league, and I like his playstyle. I'm looking forward to play against him. And I think tomorrow game will be hype, because I'm playing against my ex-teammate, Reckless, and hope he gives me a win. Yeah.
All right, that sounds fair enough. Now, talking about the gameplay, there's something about your gameplay in particular that a lot of people have been looking at, and that's spamming that emote. What does it mean?
I mean, I'm spamming emote till the start of my career, and it's binded on T, and I don't do it to BM anyone or disrespect anyone. And yeah, when I play in big stages, it's became seeable, I guess. And I just do it to increase my APM, and yeah.
So it's kind of like similar to Faker spamming tab all the time, or spamming all the lanes. Okay, fair enough. Thank you very much for joining me on 1-3. Congratulations on your second win. I wish you good luck for the rest of the weekend. We're going to toss to a very quick break, and we'll come back for the second game of the day.